Hey everybody, my name is Derek Ride. I'm a filmmaker based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I've worked in television, I've worked on movies, and I also help run another YouTube channel called Snazzy Labs. And this here is my good friend
Jim Cannon. I am a realtor by day, and by night I'm an FFL and an SOT, which means I can sell guns and suppressors. And I'm a competitive shooter as well. I shoot center fire and rimfire matches, and I just love teaching people about shooting.
And for that reason, we're here to bring you our new brand, ModMill. Essentially, we love modifying stock rifles, shotguns, pistols, you name it. But sometimes it's sort of hard to know what you're doing and how to do the things. And so because of Jim's FFL, we have a lot of access to some really cool firearms like this one here. Jim, what are we looking at?
So this is the Bergara B-14 R.
Okay, what does that mean? What makes it so special?
So this is a gun that is a Remington 700 footprint in a 22 long rifle.
Okay.
So the size and shape of the action and the trigger housing, all that is all Remington 700. It's basically the Honda Civic of guns. It has a lot of options for aftermarket.
Okay. So not cheap, but more on the other side where you can.
It gets worse. I mean, this is
a
very middle of the road price gun. Actually, you might look at it and be intimidated because the stock looks relatively
a little more aggressive.
It's aggressive.
Okay.
You see carbon fiber in the bipod and things like that. The gun itself, probably around $900.
Okay.
That's probably the street price you'd pay, we'll say. But you know, rifles in a 22 competition might range from $300 up to $2,500.
Really?
So this is really low to mid price range. And,
is this something that is like, would I be looking for this if and when I build my match rifle?
Sure. Yeah. And the thing about this is it's probably 80% the rifle of the best rifles for a third of the price.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So this is a real sweet spot in the market.
So like the Picatinny comes with it, and
no.
It doesn't. No. Okay. So what comes out of the package? Like, what am I going to get? Am I going to get the Sweeto suppressor?
No, unfortunately, they don't include that. So no suppressor. You get a thread protector for the thread.
Sure.
It comes threaded. No Picatinny base, I added that already.
Right on.
And you get one 10-round magazine. This is an AICS pattern magazine.
Is this different than what I'm going to get on a $300 rifle? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the reason why this is such a funny shaped magazine is because this geometry is what a short action centerfire, like a 308, would run this diameter.
Okay. Cool.
So because that way the opening of this, it fits, you know, the bigger calibers, but you only need this.
Meaning I can use larger stocks because you said it's that Remington 700
So you could literally take
body
the stock
type
off and put it on your Remington 700.
Okay,
it would feed, you know, out of a full-size magazine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Jim, you get a ton of questions through your Instagram account and people that you meet in person. Today, you had mentioned something about a scope and mounting it and teaching us and what proper technique is and whatever. Do you mind if we dive into that?
Let's do it.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, here's our Bergara B-14. Looks a little bit naked right now, but we're going to change that right now. So for today, I'm using an Athlon Midas TAC. It's a 6-24 by 50 first focal plane scope. That means when you zoom in and out, the reticle is growing along with the objective. As for rings, I have American Rifle Company M10 rings. These are 30 millimeter rings to fit the scope. And I'm going to show you why I always recommend these. Most scopes have a cut right in the middle of the scope, and there's a top half and a bottom half. These actually have a split on the top, and there's a hinge at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So they're pretty neat how they work. So you can see when I take the screw out of the middle, the ring is normally like that, and it splits open kind of like a TIE fighter or some Star Wars thing. But I like this system because it's only one screw, really, really simple, and they're extremely precise, really nice high quality rings. First thing I normally do, obviously you have to loosen the bottom screw so you can get it over the Picatinny rail. I'll usually start this pretty far forward on the pick rail. There we go. And keep in mind too, when you're mounting a screw, or a ring, excuse me, I always put forward pressure on it. And the reason is because you have this little jiggle right here. And if you have it pushing back, when you shoot, the rifle will recoil back and it gives the ring a chance to slip forward when you're shooting. So I always push forward on it, and then I'll lock this down snug. Obviously, always use the manufacturer recommended torque settings. I'm just going to do this snug for now. I may move it again in 1 second. I've got the screw for the top, but I'm going to do the other ring first. Another thing to note is the screw on the bottom of the ring. I usually have it facing the opposite side of the ejection port. It just kind of keeps this side cleaner and less obstructed. So it's just nice to not have to mess it up when you're trying to eject it around and have it bounce back in or mess you up. This one I'll usually put kind of toward the back. I like the rings far apart. I'm pushing forward again. Forward meaning toward the muzzle, that direction. And now I have the rings on. They're open and ready for the scope. And there's a couple of things I'm doing here. You notice I'm not measuring it to me yet. I'm going to close this. Checking it. I'm going to close this. Actually, I'm going to take it out. Let's do that. Okay, bolts out. Now we're safe. So the scope's going to sit right here. Usually the things I'm looking for right now is I like the rings to be kind of the same distance away from the turret, so I could move it like this and have it like that. I'm also looking for the magnification ring to not be touching the Picatinny rail in the rear. So that looks pretty darn good right there. I'm going to probably leave it spaced out there. And as far as getting the right eye relief, I'll get to that in just 1 second. Okay, now I'm tightening the screw on the top of the rear ring. Just going to get just barely snug, just barely making contact. And I'm going to snug the front one. Okay, I can still move it around just a little bit. It's just snug enough to stay put. It's not going to flop over. And now I can figure out my eye relief based on where my eye is versus where the scope is. I want a nice, clean, crisp circle. I don't want it to be kind of fading in on itself like an aperture. I don't want it to be really too close for comfort too. So this tool is the Arisaka Defense Scope Leveling Tool, and it's really amazing how simple it is, and how easy it is to use it. Check this out. So there's this little block that fits on the Picatinny rail. It just kind of sits there flat. And then there's these two kind of triangular pieces that ride in a channel, and you just push it in until the bottom of the scope is touching the top of that wedge. And I push it in and I jiggle the scope, and I feel like it's not moving anymore. All I have to do is just snug these down while I hold the wedge in place. And again, check the manufacturer's torque if you're doing this. And that's it. Done leveling the scope. Now what we can do is we can actually take off the bottom screws and move it back and forth wherever you need it based on your eye relief. So this is a perfectly set up scope. It's going to be really solid and it'll hold its zero really well. If you buy quality products, you get quality results, that's for sure.
So Jim, that was so slick, and you had like all your little tools and leveling devices, and I feel like that just made it super simple.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is those tools are, I mean, the Allen wrench is included, the wedge is relatively inexpensive too, and it made it so it's a perfect install every time.
Okay, so now that we have our scope mounted, it sounds like we got to get to the range and teach people how to zero it in, which I certainly don't know. So please stay tuned. If you guys liked this video and you want to see more videos like it, teaching you how to mod your firearms and basic tips and tricks behind the craft, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and mod on.